All right, SNL Live. We're 3 weeks away from day 2 of the draft. The draft will be the first day will be complete at this point. So it's creeping up, it's sneaking up, and it's very very close. And we got a lot of stuff to get into today. We're going to talk about the day 2 history of the Houston Texans. We're going to revisit last year's day 2, the opportunity they have this year, and there's some other news that impacts the Texans, including position I've been begging for. They're visiting with someone. It's not necessarily the guy I've been talking about. It is SNL Landry Locker. Cody Stoots with you. Happy 20 days away from the draft, my friend.
Yeah, happy 3 weeks away from the really fun day of the draft, though. Like, day one's cool. That's fine. But day two's where you really have a lot of fun. Day two's the best day. Round 2, round 3, Texans currently slated to make 3 selections on day 2. That's what I'm really excited about. Day 1, that's fine. Yeah, everybody gets the pomp and circumstance of the first day. But day 2 is where you really get things going.
Yeah, why do you think day 2 is the best? Because for me, I just think I think you, first of all, you get the reaction. So you're kind of on the high of reacting to day 1. And then it's almost like you kind of get like a clear picture. There's available guys, like guys that are kind of available, and you're just kind of building off that high. So day 1's cool, but it's almost like a relief because at some point, like the hype kind of dies down. It's like the week between the Super Bowl. Just imagine that in the span of about 100+ days after the season when it comes to building it up. But like you finally, you're still building off of the excitement of day 1. And then day 2 is just, it's a lot of opportunity. It's a lot of fun. And quite frankly, it's been a very good area to Nick Caserio. And it's been a pretty decent area historically for the Texans as well.
I like day 2 because you've got a direction to go, but the cone of players that you could select becomes wider because most people have a good idea. Like even if you're not a hardcore draft person, you've got a pretty good idea. There's about 35, 40 guys that are worth first round picks, and 32 of them come off the board in the first day. And so then it's like, okay, who should have been a first rounder? Who's there at the top? Does your team have ammunition to move around? What your team has done on the first day, like if the Texans take a wide receiver in round 1, I'm not thinking 58th overall is going to be a wide receiver. So while you kind of take wide receiver away, it does open it up. It's like, well, let's see what the Texans have a grade on these guys because, Daniel Jeremiah says this guy should be a 3rd rounder, but then Dane Brugler at The Athletic says he should be a 2nd rounder, but then this draft guy says, well, he should be between the 2nd and 3rd. So while you have a clearer picture of what your team's doing, the amount of possible players widens up on day 2, especially when you have more than the normal amount of selections, which is what the Texans have. You get really excited because if a guy you really love starts to fall, you've got ammunition if you want to move around, if you want to trade, or that 10 pick wait between 79 and 89 that they're scheduled to have. Like, that's a fun thing. It's like, okay, how many of these guys would you have actually wanted at 89? How many come off the board? I love day 2, and I just feel like more and more over the past 20 years, day 2 guys have started to have far more impact than people used to give them credit for. And you're really seeing the range of talent close to where day 2 guys are almost as good as a lot of those day 1 guys.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll go through the history of day 2 for the Texans. I think this is a fun exercise that we can get into. And there's kind of a debate. There's an embrace debate, OG versus young G, that you can take into it. It's relevant right now. It's relevant historically, but it's relevant right now, which we'll discuss in a sec. But obviously CJ Stroud has been a popular topic in the offseason, kind of been laying low like Nate Dogg and Snoop Dogg, but I think he's right where the Texans want him to be. And I threw this theory out yesterday to you. This is more familiar territory for CJ Stroud, where there's question marks about him. There's a little bit of doubt. There's a lot to prove. And unlike the previous season, he's not coming into the season with a bunch of hype and a lot of people kind of tooting his horn, for lack of a better term. This might be right where the Texans want CJ Stroud to be. And since he's been on our radar, going back to Ohio State and with the Texans, obviously, this is last year was a lot different than this year, and this year is like the years that got him to be in the number 2 overall pick in 2023.
He loves being an underdog, and I don't know if it's just feel or if it's just his body and mind reacts differently to it, but the more doubt you have of CJ Stroud, it seems like the better he ends up performing. You've detailed in depth the doubt that existed with him in college, and most people believed he wasn't as good as Bryce Young. Well, look how that turned out in the very first year that the two played, and then as everybody was telling him he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, it wasn't as good. Some of it in his control, some of it out of his control. But this is a good spot for CJ Stroud because if you can really, because again, I think this important element to when you have a season that doesn't go your way, you don't just reassess the season. You reassess the off season leading up to that season. So when CJ Stroud is looking about making sure this offseason is better, he goes all the way back to January of 2024, and he kind of starts there. It's like, what worked, what didn't work? Okay, well, I did a lot of workouts, but maybe doing workouts in the Middle East and the Far East and Europe aren't as good as just staying home, doing workouts in the good old US of A with everybody and getting into a rhythm. I didn't do that many things, but maybe I just don't do anything. I don't do any podcasts. I don't do any videos, and I just dial in. I just actually take that time to let my body rest, recuperate. He got beat up this year from the pressures to the sacks to everything. So when he goes back and he assesses everything, you start over at January 2024 and you say, what didn't work from this offseason and this season? And you fine-tune everything again with hopes that it makes 2025 better.
Yeah, I mean, you have to learn a new system. So
yep.
Probably a little bit more extra work. I don't want to say if it's required or not, but it seems like it would probably be beneficial. And quite frankly, you're probably not as in demand as you were last year. So there could be that. But this is just kind of more familiar territory for CJ Stroud, and we'll see what the heck he's got going. But I think it's a good mindset for CJ Stroud to be in.
And it tells us a lot too about who he's surrounding himself with and how well he can operate with a real NFL offseason, because his first real NFL offseason did not produce incredible results in his second NFL season. Let's see what his second NFL offseason does for his third NFL season.
Correct. And the round two, day two is going to be just as important as day one for CJ Stroud. Because they need more than one thing on the offensive side of the rock. And you got to think, with the 3 picks they have on day two, some of that weaponry that we speak of and some of those guys maybe blocking for him are going to be the picks are going to be used on offense. And the Texans right now, they have 3 day 2 picks. They have 58. Look at that. Yeah, they have 58, 79, and 89. That's the Texans' day 2 picks, which is kind of it's an interesting area there, because 58 is kind of an awkward area for the running back, which we assume that they're gonna, and we got some news on that end. And then 79 and 89, you can make a case that that's actually not the worst wide receiver in maybe tight end.
Yeah.
Kind of right on the edge of the tight end, but wide receiver, tight end, and offensive line, 79 and 89.
Look, 58, 79, 89. And if you're thinking about offense, obviously they're going to make a draft pick in the first round. But if you're thinking about offense, you're thinking about wide receiver, you're thinking about offensive lineman, you're thinking about running back, and you're thinking about tight end. And tight end maybe is a little bit of a luxury if you go with one of those day 2 picks, but if the right guy's there, certainly turn the card in. But if they knocked off, say, wide receiver in the first round, you'd maybe still want a wide receiver, but you'd probably put them in the 79, 89 range. But that, running back, offensive lineman, and I still can't get, and he'll talk again before the draft, but I still can't get how dismissive is not the right word, but how Daniel Jeremiah talked about, he was asked about the Texans, and he's like, well, I really think they should go ahead and get that wide receiver out of the way. There's plenty of offensive linemen on day 2 and day 3 for them to go help that offensive line. That was before they did anything in free agency and went out there and added some bodies via free agency and a trade. So I just can't, that just rattles around in the back of my brain. And so I'm thinking like, okay, 59, 89, 79, or 58, 79, 89. Like, there's got to be some offensive linemen in that range. Certainly guards, because guards just, they really shouldn't go that high. They really shouldn't go, higher than 30 most years. I guess maybe one or two might sneak into the top 30 this year, but guards and then guys who are tackles that probably should play guard at the next level, like, you're going to have opportunities at some of those bodies on day two for the offensive line, which, okay, if you got three swings at it, you should get at least one or two offensive linemen out of those three swings.
Brandon in the chat, shout out to everyone in the chat, says you just named every position that isn't QB. Yes, correct. CJ needs a lot of help. That's the point. Like they need anything and everything on offense to help. Anything.
Well, I didn't name fullback, so.
Yeah, well, maybe some of these tight ends could line up and do fullbacks, but yes, that's
they got
100% correct.
They got the German kid.
The who?
The German kid, Jakob.
Whoever the hell that is. So the history of day two, before we get into that, Andy is swarming on the soup. You ain't never hate. Swarm. With zero O-line addition, can this current group be better than last year's group with good coaching? Yes, they sucked last year. Like, I'm not going to say that it couldn't be worse. I'm just going to say if they suck, the level to which they sucked last year is
a low bar to clear for 2025.
It's a low bar to clear. Like you could literally, let's just put it this way. The O-line the year before was better. Now, maybe that had to do with Bobby Slowick or whatever, but that was George Fant off the street. That was Dieter. That was Jared Patterson, first year, 6th round pick. That was that was
Scruggs at left guard, Howard at left guard.
Yeah. So
Josh Jones.
So can they be better? Yeah. Like, and that's the other thing that I get a kick out of with the way the offensive line talk is. And it's understandable because Landry Tunsil has the respect he has, but it's like, well, they could get worse. Well, they were better the year before. I know Tunsil was still there, but they were better the year before, and it was just kind of a shuffle. So yeah, I mean, I think they can be better, but you can be, let's put it this way, you can be better and still suck with how bad the offensive line was last year.
They were probably anywhere from 28 to 32. Take your pick. The Patriots are probably 32. So 28 to 31. So they were one of the 4 worst offensive lines in football. It would still suck if they're only one of the 7 worst offensive lines or the 8 worst offensive lines. Like, that'd suck. They could get a little bit better, but still not be great overall. You're looking for just if you could just get into that middle pack of offensive linemen or just right up to 20th overall as far as an offensive line goes, that should produce some massive improvement overall with the offense.
Wag says, happy Friday, gents. Where would you draft interior offensive line? Who? I'll ask the guard expert here, Mr. Guard. Cody Stoots.
I mean, ideally, you'd love to be able to address other positions with those first 2 picks and be able to use 79 or 89 on a guard. Now, that's not going to be some of the top guards in the class like that people are all excited about. That's probably not going to be one of the tackles that needs to play guard. But the 2 names that I see constantly in the 3rd round that would fit for the Texans are Tate Ratledge from Georgia, right guard. Played right guard for the Bulldogs for 3 seasons and very athletic. And then Jonah Savanaia from Arizona. He played tackle and guard all over the offensive line for the Wildcats while he was at Arizona. He's very good.
Are you saying he's versatile, Cody?
He's going to play guard in the NFL, so no.
Okay. Are you saying versatility? Are you going Brian Gain on me?
No, I'm just telling you he played different positions, so he's not beholden. Like, if you draft Tate Ratledge, you should play him at right guard. If you draft Jonah Savanaia from Arizona, you could play him at right guard or you could play him at left guard. So, he's not beholden to a side. But, if Tate Ratledge goes out there and plays 3 years for the Bulldogs at right guard, why would you bring him to the NFL and play him at left guard? That'd be dumb. Play him at right guard. So, 79, 89, if you grab both those guys, 79, 89, boom, there's your 2 young guys on the line, and then just figure out the rest of the draft because you spent the picks elsewhere at 25 and 58.
So here's my question, because I brought up the Jahdae Barron hypothetical yesterday where if Barron falls to 25, you take him. Like I don't really like it's not ideal to not address some of these needs, but if arguably the best DB/corner in the draft falls to you, and he's not a true safety, he's more of a corner, and you need corner depth and stuff, you take him. Like we both agreed.
Yeah.
Someone said to me in the DMs, well, what about Petrie? Jalen Petrie does not stop you from taking the best corner in the draft in any scenario. So
I can tell you exactly how that went down. You were on your phone. And you don't use your thumb, you use your finger. You have like a weird way you hold your phone. And you were going like this, and you hit the DMs.
That's a lot.
And somebody said, what about Petrie? And then you said out loud, what about Petrie? And then you just kept scrolling. And then you were just doing this.
I literally hold my phone like this. And I don't know what you're talking about.
You use your index finger weird when you hold your phone.
That's never happened.
Yeah, it's very strange.
This dude is lying. He's just mad because he's rude to waiters. But that's
I knew you were going to say this. I knew you were going to lie about this.
Neither here nor there. He's rude to waiters. It's embarrassing when I go out in public and see the way he treats them. And he just puts a line through the tip section. But
that is not true.
It's okay.
That is not true.
I don't use a finger. Like that's never like this is like the weirdest lie he's ever told. I literally hold it like this.
He holds his phone like this. He does like this weird like crypt keeper thing where he
that never happens. That never happens.
He's like this.
It's never. That is never. I don't know where that even comes from.
It's like this. It's very strange.
Has never happened in my entire life.
It's probably because his fingers are too long, and so he just got to get those claws on the phone.
Phone home. No, that has never happened. Swarming the soup with Cap and Cody Stoots here. You ain't never hate. Swarm. He says it's Friday. Let the good times roll. Shout out to you, HDAV traveler. Let the good times roll. We're less than 3 weeks away from the draft. 3 weeks away from day 2. Let's feast. Wag says thoughts on Donovan Jackson. Do you like his versatility? I'll go to the guard whisperer here. Go ahead, guard whisperer.
So Donovan Jackson's a guard from Ohio State. He only played tackle because their tackle got hurt. So he's going to play guard at the NFL level. I know some people are like, well, look, he played tackle. Yeah, but you don't want to play him at tackle in the NFL. You want to play him at guard. I like him. I mean, he's one of those guys that he's probably top of the second round. So like if he falls into the second round where the Texans pick, they might be excited to have him there. But he's also like the level of player that if one of these really good teams that's picking, 32, 31, 30, if they wanted a guard, they would just grab him and plug and play him and let's go.
I kind of envision him on because we're going to be doing the super streams on the draft and we're going to be doing our normal channels. We'll still do SNL. And then we'll just have like a big 1 hour break, like a little woosah, whatever you want to do to get your mind right. We'll have that. But as I rub my crystal ball here with my fingers that I don't use on my phone, I'm wondering like
as he rubs the crystal ball here.
I'm envisioning that we're going to have a list or a graphic of best players available and Donovan Jackson will be on that list. That's what I'm kind of envisioning like 3 weeks from now that we're talking about Donovan Jackson and it's best players available, him being on the list. I could see Booker on the list too. I could see a guard not getting picked in round 1. Although you're right though, the good teams do always just kind of fill holes like that.
Right. If you told me, hey, like Buffalo, Kansas City, or Philadelphia, one of them's going to draft a guard, I'd be like, oh, okay. I believe it. They might draft Donovan Jackson. Like, yeah. Donovan Jackson's 41st on Daniel Jeremiah's top 50. So, he's right on the edge of, is he a first rounder? Is he not a first rounder? He's right on the edge there.
Positional value.
Yeah. Well, he's a guard, so there's not any tackle value to him. So I don't know why anybody would play him at tackle. That'd be
good old positional value talk too. So there's that. But yeah, that's the like when you hear the Bookers and the other guards, it's kind of like maybe the second rounder would be a little bit more intriguing, but you never know how much how they feel about it. And really like how much, I just mentioned, and the reason I brought the Petrie thing up to circle back to it was that I got thrown off by your finger claim. Petrie
shouldn't dictate how you draft.
No, who should? That's my question. Like, who in the first round? Like, if we're listing players that dictate how you draft, that was the whole point of that question. Because I think there's like in the first round, who dictates how you draft? We just made a scenario where Kamari Lassiter and Derek Stingley don't dictate how you draft. In one very small scenario, we just made that, so we eliminate them. I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson kind of dictates how you draft because I don't think you're taking Eamon Awori even if he's there. I don't think that happens.
The safety from South Carolina.
So I think you can put Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on the list. I really don't know if Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter do either, although I think they should. I don't know whether they do or not. If D'Amico in the first round, if there's like some edge guy he's obsessed with, I would not put it past him to at least consider it. There's no one on the D line. There's no linebacker. CJ obviously dictates how you draft, but that's it. I think it's a very small list. I think it's CJ. I think it's both CJs, Gardner Johnson and Stroud. And that's really the list. I don't think anyone else dictates how you draft in round one.
Correct. That's it. That's it. I wouldn't put it past D'Amico with the defensive end, but man, that would just be, how many damn defensive linemen do you need? I would just be like, oh, come on.
How many do you need? Wags is asking my top O-line, O-lineman and DT. Banks at 25 would be my top OL. DT, God, DT. I don't really love any of these DTs, to be honest with you. So I don't have a top guy. Like, there's no one in the first round that I would be excited about them taking at DT. I just trust them to figure something out, but there's no one that I'm just like foaming at the mouth to get at DT.
Yeah, I saw the NFL.com put up a 5-round mock draft. Chad Ryder, and just Chad, what are we doing here, man?
NFL.com has some crazies doing mock drafts sometimes. Lance. I'm not talking about Lance. I like Lance's mocks. They're in depth, but sometimes they'll just throw some crazy stuff. Not Jeremiah either. Some of those are like crazy.
He went with Oregon defensive tackle Derek Harmon in the first round, and I was like, what are we doing here? with Golden and Banks and like 3 other players that make way more sense on the board. I'm just like, come on.
ESPN having the paywall mock drafts is crazy to me.
ESPN's draft simulator is awful. I played around with it. I played around with it for like 20 minutes the other day. I was like, this sucks.
What a party. What a party. Was that, how long did you play with it?
20 minutes, as I just said.
Oh, 20? Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Just 20?
Just 20 minutes. I was disgusted by how awful it was.
So let's go through the history of day 2.
I live an exciting life. I know it doesn't sound like it, but I do.
Yeah, that's crazy. 20 minutes. Huh? Look at that. So the history of day 2 with the Houston Texans here on SNL. Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you. So we go through the history of day 2 with the Texans. It's a little bit interesting because in 2002, they actually did a pretty damn good job. I think if you could get something similar to that this year, I don't think you would complain too much. Like if you told me, hey, you get the equivalent of what they got in 2002, you would say, okay, because they got 2 guys who were significant starters for them for a decent amount of time on the offensive line in Chester Pitts and Fred Weary. And then you got Jabbar Gaffney, so you got the receiver.
Yeah.
So that was 2002. Then you look, D'Amico Ryans in the Mario Williams draft. He was up there. And then you go all the way down, and you can kind of see what Caserio has done in round 2. Davis Mills, Nico Collins, Petrie, Christian Harris. And then last year you got Lassiter, Fisher, Bullock. Did not mention John Mechie.
Yeah, it's worth noting Mechie's in that 2022.
Yeah, that was not mentioned. But Caserio's actually done a pretty decent job on day 2, specifically last year.
Mechie 11 picks before the highest paid tight end in football, Trey McBride.
Yeah, you know. But I'm going to ask you this. Who's the best day 2 pick of all time for the Texans? Is it already Nico Collins?
Oh man, one more season and it probably is Nico Collins.
Yeah, because D'Amico was a hell of a player.
D'Amico's got a really good argument for it because of his immediate success. But Nico Collins could quickly become the best day 2 guy.
The other thing that I think you just kind of look at here that I find interesting was in 2017, like you thought Zach Cunningham was going to be an absolute stud. He actually led the league in tackles. The 1 year Deontay Foreman, he got hurt on his second touchdown of a game. I think it was against Arizona. That just never worked out. He never vibed with BOB. 2018, I think, is interesting. And this one's one of them polarizing ones because you didn't have a first or second round pick. Justin Reed was a good pick, but with the Martinez Rankin pick, this is one of the ones that I think stings the most because at that point before you made the selection, third round, 80th overall, you needed an offensive tackle and you also needed a tight end. You ended up taking Jordan Akins in the third round at 98, 18 picks later. But right after Martinez Rankins went.
I put together a 2018 graphic. Let me show it to the people.
Okay,
here.
It hurts.
All right, so Jordan Reed went 68th overall. 2 picks later, Fred Warner went 70th overall. We know who's a better football player. Martinez Rankin went 80th overall. They thought he could play tackle. No draft person thought he could play tackle. They thought he could play tackle. Orlando Brown Jr., who actually could play tackle, went 3 picks later. And if you didn't want to take Martinez Rankin, and you wanted to go with a different position that you later drafted, which was tight end.
Twice. You drafted 2 tight ends later in that draft.
Yeah, you could have just drafted, I don't know, Mark Andrews, 86th overall in 2018. But, he had diabetes, so people were worried about that.
Yeah, the diabetes thing. All you had to do was go to OU Pro Day, although I don't think you would have been impressed with Orlando Brown.
Well, Brown had the bad combine, and then he was better at the pro day. He had a small bounce back, but the bloodline alone would have told you he was good enough to play in the league.
Yep,
his dad was good.
Zeus. Yeah, there's been some interesting ones when you look at the picks like.
2015 was a pretty sucky one for the Texans. 2015's draft, like that was, you didn't know a lot about 2014 by the time you got to the 2015 draft because Clowney had gotten hurt. They didn't find a position for Suafilo. Lewis Nix had been hurt. Fedorowicz was, in a second, going into his second year. So like you didn't quite have like a total understanding of that 2014 draft. And then in 2015, they drafted Kevin Johnson in the first round. Not great. And then Bernardrick McKinney, he was fine. And then they got outmaneuvered for Tyler Lockett.
More than fine. He was good.
They got outmaneuvered for Tyler Lockett, and they ended up taking Jalen Strong on day 2.
God, what a nut he was.
It's like, that wasn't good.
Well, the memories for me too, like, so that we went through 2018. What about 2020 when Bill O'Brien about tackled his son on the Zoom and he yelled, "That's your pick, Jack," when they took Jonathan Grenard,
yes.
Which was really like the only good pick that they made in that draft, like real solid pick.
Oh, God.
And he's like, son's just sitting there and Bill O'Brien's like screaming at the top of his lungs. And it's like, dude, you couldn't even not look like an asshole on a Zoom. And his son's just sitting there like, as he like storms by him.
My goodness, that was Ross Blacklock in the second round that year.
Instead of Jonathan Taylor.
Instead of Cole Kmet. Instead of Antoine Winfield. Instead of Trevon Diggs. Instead of Cam Akers, the first version of him before the Texans had him. Instead of AJ Epinesa, who's been solid for the Bills. Instead of J.K. Dobbins. Like, so many good players went after Ross Blacklock, and then, by the middle of the season, JJ was disgusted by him.
Oh, yeah, he was very, very mad. Didn't think that he worked hard. Is Ross Blacklock still in the league? Is he doing anything?
Last time
or is he just smooth out?
He might be smooth out. I take that back. He played at some point for the Tennessee Titans in 2023, and he was on the Giants in 2024.
Doing what?
He was on their practice squad in 2024, and he signed a reserve future contract. So he's on the Giants.
Okay, well, good for him. But yeah, day two is always interesting. And it does seem like, between Lassiter and Bullock, and we'll see what happens with Fisher, that Nick Caserio has done a pretty decent job on day two. There's been some misses. That happens, though. That's the nature of the draft. But between Nico Collins and some of the other guys, there's pretty good work done by Nick Caserio on day two. And I even think the Davis Mills pick was good. I know that's kind of polarizing. I mean, you drafted a guy because you had to play him his rookie season. He actually performed as well as most of the guys selected at the top of that draft, and he's currently your backup quarterback. And we'll get into the Case Keenum stuff a little bit later on. Small little nug. But yeah, I don't even think the Davis Mills thing was that terrible.
The thing about day two Caserio misses is his 2 day 2 misses have been when he's
traded up,
when he's made a significant move up. So he made the big move up for John Mechie while Mechie was hurt. Obviously, he can't determine that he's going to end up having cancer.
No, he had a torn ACL.
But he had a torn ACL. And the process on how you arrive at that. Mechie was already like a lightly athletic guy. Like he wasn't like some sort of athletic freak where if he lost a step coming back, he's still more athletic than a lot of guys. Like that wasn't Mechie's game. Like, so if Mechie had come back from that knee injury, let's pretend the cancer element never happened, but he'd lost a step, then he still would have been a risky selection because he was injured. Like it's very different from his Bama teammate that went in the first round that year, Jamison Williams, because Jamison Williams is a freak athlete. So like even if he lost a step, he's still faster than a lot of guys. He's still more athletic than a lot of guys. Like Mechie was lightly talented from an athleticism standpoint.
Torn ACL though, it's not like some sort of like,
Well, sure, but if guys come back a step slow from the ACL and they're already, borderline not the best athlete, like that's not good.
And and you also had Pickens. The two popular names were Pickens and James Cook, the two UGA guys. That was the two most popular names, at least in this neck of the woods. But yeah, it is interesting that he traded up for Juice Scruggs too.
Yeah, well, and it's worth noting Scruggs had a pretty significant injury history. Now I know he'd played, but he'd had a significant injury history
He got in a wreck.
Well, it's still an injury that kept him from playing football.
No, I know, but yeah, it's not like a on-field injury, but he got in a wreck, right?
Yeah. Well, and what I mean, he's had an injury issue in the NFL.
That hindsight, baby. That hindsight. Can't win them all. No, but I agree. I agree. You gotta use the hindsight. You use it when you can.
That's hindsight on the process. Like, did you take a risk by drafting guys who had significant injury histories?
Yes. Didn't work out, man. It didn't work out. Unless you're on the John Mechie breakout train. Which neither of us are.
There's still some folks holding on. There was a spirited discussion that ended up in some name calling in my mentions. I was like,
about what?
About John Mechie.
Saying what?
Some guy was saying he's right on the edge of being gone. And another guy was claiming there's no way they're going to get rid of him. He's getting ready to take over. And it's just like,
take over what?
Man, I removed myself from that conversation. I think they're still fighting.
Wow. About John Mechie, huh?
About John Mechie. And I was like, gentlemen, it's a Friday. What are we doing?
On that note,
Swarm.
Wags ask, who's y'all's college football teams? Hook 'em. How about them Cougs? Texas, till I die. Born into it. Dad, son, road trips. When my parents got divorced, the only thing they get along about, well, they don't like hate each other. They're good co-parents, but is Texas football. So Texas football, even in Lubbock. So hook 'em till I die.
I like watching Texas Tech, though. I've been pretty disappointed with the quarterback position for, half a decade now. And then I like watching anybody that's playing James Franklin. I love watching Penn State lose. That guy's just there's no way
He's a
nice
jerk,
guy.
man.
There's no way.
No.
Like he would be.
He's rude to waiters. He's rude to waiters.
You know what he is?
I was kidding about you being rude to waiters. James Franklin is rude to waiters. There's no doubt. There is zero doubt that James Franklin is an asshole to waiters. Zero doubt.
You know what James Franklin is? You know what his friend group calls him? He's the tough hang guy. God, he's a tough hang. You never want to be the tough hang guy. James Franklin's tough hang guy.
Yeah, he is a true jerk. True jerk. Kyle Nance says, what about Yahoo Sports? They still exist. Yahoo Sports Fantasy is the best. It's not. I think Yahoo Sports Fantasy is the best. I don't know about their draft simulator.
They have a draft simulator?
I don't know. Yes. He asked if it's still there. Not sure.
They've done well, okay. So they do 24-hour fantasy football mock drafts.
Their mock draft simulator is the best. Like if you're doing fantasies, that's
because you can pick what spot you're drafting.
The chat rooms are always popping too.
Yeah,
get you a little idea of what's going on. Yeah, I can still get down with the Yahoo.
Yeah, if somebody invited me to play in a fantasy baseball league and I said, "What are you using?" They're like ESPN, and I was like, "I'm not doing
whack."
What is
whack,
this?
Man. They do too damn much, man. Yahoo is very simple.
I love Yahoo's fantasy. It's the best place to run your fantasy football league.
The projections are the best. We've been doing it for 15, right? Yeah, 15 years. Our fantasy league, like we've had it. The projections are easy. The stats are kept up perfectly. They don't try to drive you to any other crap. There's not like a bunch of like random ass analysts like talking to you. The scoring is very simple. Or however you want it to do, you can customize it.
They
can't mess with it.
They do a really good job record keeping with your league year after year after year, because I like to go back through the history of our league and find fun things about it. And can you remember this player was this good this year or whatever, like who was on championship teams? Like they do a great job record keeping. If you're just keeping, renewing the year every year, they ought to be paying us for this damn stuff. We probably converted about 15 people to Yahoo Fantasy.
Hey, no payment needed. It's
yeah. You know what? They've done a lot for me over the years. So
hey, no payment needed. Yahoo Fantasy, great. Hey, go get it. You ain't got to pay me. I'll just be honest with you about it. It's great. So I wanted to kind of touch on this briefly. Case Keenum, he got a 1-year deal with the Bears, up to $3 million. Good for him. I think he's washed. I think this is ideally he never steps on the field, and he's a great resource to Caleb Williams. But if you think there's a chance your backup quarterback actually plays, I don't think Case Keenum has anything left in the tank. But I think he's going to play until they make him stop playing. But I also think he's going to eventually be a coach. Maybe here. Who knows?
Well, they got that. They got that. The kid from Hard Knocks, whose dad's an arm wrestler, Badgett. He's like the backup, the physical backup.
Yeah.
You hope you never see him on the field.
I think even if he doesn't make the team, like if Case doesn't make the team, just a training camp with Case Keenum for Caleb Williams would be valuable, I think. So I don't know if this contract's guaranteed. I would assume probably not. But Case probably just wants to give it one more go and kind of see how that goes down.
I wonder if there's that's a pretty good for Case. That's a pretty good learning tree to go sit under from a coaching standpoint. Ben Johnson, Case has been around the league, coached under some good and bad offenses. Yeah, you pick up something as it's a little beneficial relationship for Case too. He kind of learns a little bit. Hey, what's the hot new young coach? How's he operating things?
Alejandro says, "Does Case Keenum retire? What are they going to have like a 1-day contract for Case?"
So the Texans have never been the 1-day contract. I don't say never. The Texans have in recent years not been 1-day contract team. And I feel like
Chester Pitts, like a 1-day contract or something. What was that weird Chester Pitts thing a few years ago?
Well, I feel like their opinions fully, totally, and wholly changed when J.J. Watt acted like it was the dumbest thing ever to sign a one-day contract, and then the Texans were like, "Yeah, we don't really do that."
Yeah, it is. Like it's like you're still a Texan. Like it doesn't. Oh, one-day contract. Okay, well you left. Like I hate it. And some of the guys who get that treatment is crazy. Case Keenum would fall in that category. As much of a local legend as he is, Case Keenum would fall in the "what are we doing here" category. Although I could see them doing it for weeks.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I got a great story for you. I didn't know when I was going to bring this up, but here we are.
All right, chat. I want y'all to grade this story. He said it's great. I want y'all to rank it 1 to 10, this story. So no pressure on Stoots. 1 to 10 after the story's told, rank it. He said it's great.
Probably a bad job by me saying it's great. Anyway,
yeah, go ahead.
I was at the rodeo.
1 to 10 after.
It was probably, I think it was the last Saturday of the rodeo. And I was walking around, and I was walking past someone who goes, "Hey, Cody," and I didn't initially recognize the guy. He goes, "Hey, like my name's Jeff Tarpinian. I played football for the Texans for a while. Like I was a backer roster guy. Hey, I watch your stuff. You and Landry do a good job." He's very complimentary. He watches the show. We just chit chatted for a minute. He's like, "Hey, I saw John Weeks walking around." And I was like, "Oh, wow, no way. Weeks is here. Like, which way did he go? Like, I'd love to go say hello." He's like, "Yeah, him and the whole family rolling around in 49ers gear." And I was like, "No way." He's like, "Yeah, getting their last little bit of Houston before they head out west and, get out there to the West Coast so he can snap for the 49ers. And he's like, he's the only guy that's, still there when I was there, so on and so forth. And so we just talked about Weeks for a minute. And I was like, all right, well, if I, see him, I'll tell him you told me to look out for him, tell him hello, so on and so forth. But yeah, Weeks rolling around the rodeo in 49ers gear, ready to head out west. Shut up. In the stream. I hate you. Shut up. Yeah, that's right. Stay silent. Just get ready for the next topic. The next thing that comes out of your mouth better be us moving on.
Hey, it's a solid story, but you said this is great.
I shouldn't have said great, okay?
You said this is a great story. If you would have just told the story, I would have been there, but you set the bar high, sir.
That's bad job by me. I set poor expectations. Under promise, over deliver, like me in the bedroom.
What's your promise? What do you tell them? What's your under promise? I don't have much experience. Like, what do you tell them?
Much experience. Come on now.
No, like, what's the under promise for the bedroom? Just let me know. I'm living vicariously through you, my man.
Well, you just don't tell them anything, and then they're like, "Oh, you can do that?" Yep. I'm way more flexible than I look.
Nah, yeah. I wonder if Weeks' wife liked the 49ers before. She went to ASU. She went to ASU.
Like if she had like some sort of like allegiance to the team previously.
Well, I mean, she went to ASU. Scatabo said he grew up a 49ers fan.
But didn't he grow up like on the West Coast? He went to like some weird college out there on the West Coast, didn't he?
Don't know. No clue.
Yeah, he grew up in Rio Hondo, California. Went to Sacramento State.
But yeah, I don't know where Amanda grew up. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, Sacramento is a huge 49er stronghold, in case anybody's wondering.
I wonder what he's going to do, though, because there's no guarantee he makes the team. So are they just going to stay here? Are they going to go to Arizona where it's close? Like, I wonder what the Weekses will do. They got 2 young daughters, so I think there's probably a chance he retires here. I also think there's a strong chance he might retire in Arizona. So who knows? Shout out to Weeks. Walking around the rodeo. That was a great story. That was a great story.
No, don't give me. I don't want your pity.
No, that was a good one.
I don't want your pity.
All right, so we have some news involving the Texans. As you can see today, and this is a pure coincidence, I'm a basic bitch. I got a Starbucks right there, little Starbucks action.
Look at you funding another scoop by Jordan Schultz.
Yep, Jordan Schultz, the Starbucks baby. He had the scoop. Quinson Judkins will meet with the Texans. That is courtesy of the Starbucks baby, Jordan Schultz. So there we go. Judkins out of Ohio State. Kind of feels like it's a possibility that he's available there when the Texans select in day 2.
He should be available at 58. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's one of those guys. We talked about what kind of back he is yesterday. I said kind of a zone runner. That's what the Ohio State guy that I talked to said, Bo Bishop. We don't know what the running scheme is going to be, but they're gonna meet with him, and who knows? We also ironically talked about all the comparisons that he'd gotten yesterday, which I guess we had no idea he was meeting with the Texans, but that kind of came up.
Yeah, like he got a Marion Barber comparison from a few draft people. You know, I'd have to go because I know your Ohio State guy said, you know, he did this at Ohio State.
Yeah, that's not an end all be all though. You're right.
I'd have to go back and do some looking and digging and see him because he was awesome at Ole Miss. Like 2023, he was awesome at Ole Miss. Like it was sort of like I can't believe this guy's transferring because, you know, Ole Miss spent all that money in the portal. They went and got like a bazillion guys, but he was incredible as a freshman at Ole Miss, or as a freshman at Ole Miss, and then his second year at Ole Miss, he was awesome too. So I'd be interested to see maybe the Ole Miss rushing attack. Is there something there that you see that's not present in 2024 that gives you the hope that he's a little bit more system versatile than just, he really should only do this?
Yeah, I don't know. I like him all right. I don't. It kind of depends when you're drafting.
So
like, would you like him at 58?
I'd take him at 58.
Yeah, 58. It's fine. 79 would be a blessing. And then I think he's long gone by 89.
Listen to 2022. 2022 at Ole Miss from Quinshon Judkins. 1,500 yards and 16 touchdowns. He averaged 120 yards per game in 2022 for the Rebels.
He's a mofo, man. I mean, he's a mofo to stop for sure. That was a very good 1-2 punch they had at Ohio State.
Listen, how about this little stretch? Like sometimes SEC guys, they pile it up early on in the season. 139 and 2 touches versus Auburn. 111 and 2 touches at LSU. 205 and a touchdown at Texas A&M. 135 and 2 touchdowns against Bama. 214 and a touchdown at Arkansas. Dude, what a stretch. Goodness gracious, Quinshon Judkins. That was as a freshman.
So are you selling yourself on Quinshon Judkins right now?
I would absolutely take him at 58, 79, or 89.
Day two. So day two kind of.
Yeah, I would absolutely take him on day 2.
He's the dream scenario if you don't get a Henderson or Omarion. He's the dream scenario for sure. I don't know. I could see Chip Kelly taking him in round 2. If they don't take a running back in round 1, I could see Chip Kelly taking him.
I do wonder how much Chip Kelly's desire to have some of his Ohio State guys.
Dude, they freaking love him. Like, it's not just like Chip Kelly. Like, they freaking love him. Like, any talk about Chip Kelly isn't a player's coach and what happened in Philadelphia and all that crap. Like, at the combine, like those freaking guys, those offensive guys at Ohio State were just singing the hell out of his praises. So I do wonder, like, if Henderson's there or Judkins or God forbid Ibuka or even some of these offensive linemen we're talking about Ohio State are there, I do wonder if the man who got $7 million to call plays maybe has a little bit of say in things and is able to bring in some of these Ohio State guys. So I think that's kind of what to watch for if Ohio State guys are in the 3 weeks from now, the best available category, because he's not taking anyone in round 1 from Ohio State. But I do think day 2, Chip Kelly's getting at least one Ohio State player. That's one of my draft predictions.
I like it.
So could it be Judkins? Who knows? He's visiting with the Texans, so we'll see how that whole thing rolls. In the chat, Dietology says, what's the average cost to trade up in the second? Depends how many spots. There's a Jimmy chart that some people swear by, but it really just depends how many spots, how far up you go. If you're trading 10 spots or more in the first round, I mean, you're damn near giving up a first next year. Like, it kind of depends where you're at. But let's say they want to trade up from 25 to 15 with the Atlanta Falcons. Is Atlanta's at 15, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's say they want to trade from 25 to 15. I mean, you're at least giving up your second and third. Like, you just are.
Yeah, moving around in the seconds not as difficult as you would think. It's worth noting the Texans do not have a fourth rounder in this year's draft.
Oh, he's saying in the second. My fault, sir.
Yeah, so they do not have a fourth rounder currently. They've got the first, the second, the 2/3, and then they have a fifth and 2/7. So the fifth and the 2/7, that's not really getting you anywhere in the third round. Like maybe you can go 5 spots with that fifth round pick and one of the seventh round picks in the third round. Like maybe you could go 79 to 75, which I think is exactly what they did for Christian Harris back in the day, if I remember correctly, roughly. And so like, but you don't have a fourth rounder. Now, obviously, you have 2 seconds next year and you have 2 4s next year. But most teams grade those as a year, as a current draft pick round later. So if you think of the 2 seconds in 2026, they're equal to a third in 2025. So they've got ammunition if they want to move around. They dip into next year if they're really moving.
Yeah, and my bad for misunderstanding at the beginning. But the other thing is, and this was one of those pet peeves. Was it you or Meltzer who got real like annoyed by this and wanted to have like write a effing essay on? A lot of times Nick Caserio, the trades that he's made to trade up specifically on day 2s or day 3s, they aren't proportional to typically what people would pay. Like it was almost like he had a stack of 1s at the strip club and he was just throwing it out. Like a lot of times the price that Nick Caserio is paid, going back to even the Davis Mills draft, I think previously mentioned 2021, it kind of feels like he's sometimes paid more than what the Jimmy chart or what other trades have been when he tries to move up.
Yeah, Meltzer's the one that always got his panties in a bunch.
God, man. Yeah, that was him. I think we were all sitting around and that's all he wanted to talk about. And I was like, dude, so you're mad that he gave up an extra fifth or like, I'm just like, golly,
yeah. So,
give me a headache.
So it was Nico Collins was the one that he was mad about first. And it was, here's what they traded for Nico Collins. They traded their 4th round pick that year. So they went from the 4th round to the 3rd round. The extra picks that the Panthers got were a 5th round pick and a 4th round pick the next year. So it wasn't that much. Like Mike's sitting here losing.
He wouldn't shut the hell up about it.
He was losing his mind over a future 4th round pick. And I'm just like,
man, give me a headache. Here? I know they're important, but God, you're giving me a headache. And that one ends up looking pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wag says he has a better week story in the chat. So better than Stoots's. That's a bold claim too. Andy says Dare for kicker over Fairbairn. Do you have any kicking thoughts, Stoots?
I do. Nick Caserio hates the new kickoff. He doesn't, just the way he talked about it, he sounded like
it sucks.
He sounded like he was pissed. He did not like that the touchback comes out to the 35. And I guess they're changing the alignment of the players again on the dynamic kickoff, but the touchback's going to bring it out to the 35. And Caserio echoed something that similar to what Frank Ross would talk about is if Frank Ross would say, hey, 2 first downs here at midfield, 3 first downs, you're kicking a field goal. And it's kind of like what their thought is. Caserio's thing when he was asked about the dynamic kickoff was, well, you get a touchback and then 1 first down and you're at midfield. And he acted like it was like some affront against the way football's played.
He's right.
It's like 1 first down, you're at midfield.
He's right.
That the Texans have, I do not believe, truth serum. If you give him truth, I do not believe anybody on the Texans likes the new kickoff.
Well, here's my thing. Like from a strategy standpoint, like if I'm D'Amico Ryans, and this is kind of, I'm just thinking out loud here. It could end up being a dumb idea, but like, let's say you're up 5 points with 2.5 minutes left and the team's at the 16-yard line, you might as well let them score. Like, it's not like it almost changes the whole thing, because then all you have to do is pick up a first down or two and you're kicking the field goal, as opposed to like letting the clock bleed. Like, there's got to be something strategically where if the other team's going to go up, like if you're up 6 and they have all the momentum and they're at the 12-yard line, yeah, letting them score might not be the worst thing at this point.
Yeah, if you know they're gonna give you a touchback,
Like,
but if
you're already kind of mishandled, yeah, if you know they're gonna get, or they're just gonna have to kick it short. Like, I don't know. It's a weird thing. The 35 is too much.
it does feel a little excessive.
Yeah, it's funny because they're keeping the kickoff alive. I think I saw someone at I forgot what it was. I think they were someone in like radio or something. But they were like, oh, they're killing the kickoff. Killing the kickoff. This is like the opposite of killing the kickoff. This is like moving it to the 35 is.
Why the hell were you listening to the radio?
I wasn't listening. It was a tweet.
Oh.
Yeah, I wasn't listening to anything. It came on the timeline, and then I hit the mute button on it because, yeah, it's like it's the complete opposite, which is weird because I thought the talk was they're trying to kill the kickoff, and now it just seems like they're just giving it live support after live support. It's just maybe it's just because I've been watching football a certain way, but it's just rough on the eyes. Like, it's just a rough look on the eyes. The new kickoff. It's not
like
tight.
it. I don't like it.
It's trash. It's trash. Chance on the soup. Day 2 pick, not skill position. Who's a stud?
I don't know if he's asking specifically for the Texans or not, but I like Landon Jackson from Arkansas. He's a defensive end. He's pure power and probably needs some fine tuning, but some team's going to, draft him and probably coach him up and turn him into a nice player. It feels like. I like Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle from Toledo. Now, the tough part about Alexander is when he shows up, he better be good right away because he's 25 years old. So there's not like a lot of grow into it there for Darius Alexander. I like another 3 defensive tackles, like could be really solid players. Alfred Collins from Texas, Tyleik Williams from Ohio State, and TJ Sanders from South Carolina. They all do something different. Sanders is a little bit more of a pass rush guy. Williams a little bit more of a run stopper. Collins got some juice to a little bit of both of it. Xavier Watts, the safety from Notre Dame. I mean, you and I both really like him.
Yeah, I like Xavier Watts. I like Demetrius Knight from South Carolina, kind of the linebacker range type of vibe. But yeah, do tight ends count as skill position guys or not?
Yeah,
I guess yes.
They do.
Cool. Yeah, some
they do. And then we like Kevin Winston from Penn State, the safety. We both liked him.
Yeah, I like all of Penn State safeties, all of them that are in the draft. Are squib kicks allowed? Yes, they are, but they have to land like within whatever the hell.
The 20.
Yeah, they have to land in 20. So yeah.
The landing zone.
Yeah, the tight ends I think that's kind of a money pick. Like I could see whether it's Fedone or something like that. I could see the Texans kind of looking there. I do wonder what happens if Loveland falls to the second round too. Like,
try to get number 33. If he falls in the second round, try to get 33. If he falls in the second round, then the damn Browns have an auction.
The Browns
they should just take him if he's there at 33, but the Browns should have an auction.
The Browns are really just kind of the opposite of the Falcons. Arthur Blank came out and said they're going all defense in the draft. He said that's common sense. And the Browns, I think, are probably going to be all offense. So it's kind of funny. Like between those two teams, kind of seems like it's a little bit of counter. We never know though. But yeah,
I do. It is always like the Broncos GM. He says we're going to draft a running back. Okay, what happens if you don't? Like you
Yeah,
make
there's
this
no
you make
there's
this
no
promise.
there's no consequence for it.
Yeah.
So I'm just pulling back the curtain with you people, and I do mean you people. I brought up an idea with Stoots, and he crapped all over it. So, on draft day when we're streaming, they're gonna have Zooms, interviews with draft picks, and they typically have it during the draft. And I threw it by Cody. I said, "Hey, when we're streaming, maybe we can carry that live on the stream so that the people can kind of hear from the draft picks during the stream." And Cody wasn't down with it. So I was just like, "Oh, well, I guess that was a bad idea." I didn't see anything wrong with it, but Cody wasn't down with it. So
Well, that's just
where we're at.
a total misrepresentation of the
That's what
situation.
happened. So yeah,
Total
I
misrepresentation.
tried to do it for the folks, and Cody wasn't down. So
Total misrepresentation.
where we went. So
That's not what happened.
never mind.
No, you're getting the Zooms.
I'm trying to figure out how it would work. So you just bring it up here, you kind of hear it, and then we have to mute. Do we have to mute like the feedback?
We'd mute us, and we just present Zoom and just make it full screen and throw something across the bottom so that people know what's happening.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah. We just mute this.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And if push comes to shove, I could always drop out of the stream so that my microphone's not being used or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So, we got 3 weeks. We got 3 weeks.
Do a little test run. Zoom, the company that only exists because COVID happened.
What is that? Why are they still supporting that? It makes me wonder if they had something. No, I'm just kidding. But
Jeez, conspiracy theory on freaking Zoom?
I mean, where the hell did that come from? Texans are still sending Zoom links. What are we doing?
There are some teams that do their coaches interview on Monday over Zoom. They don't even go in the facility.
The hell's a Zoom? Good Lord.
Also, how bad did Skype fumble? Skype was, that's
how did Skype die? Skype's like the MySpace of
Skype was not ready for the world to go digital.
Skype's like the MySpace of COVID.
Kind of. Yeah.
That was my favorite diss ever. Did you ever watch the show Your Mama on MTV?
Oh yeah. Wilder Valderrama?
Dude, that show was so funny, man. Like, I don't know. It a lot of times it was like hit or miss, but some of those jokes were just like perfect. There's 2 jokes that kind of stuck out on Your Mama that I've always just thought were just elite. One of them was, "Your mama's vagina's got more friends than Tom on MySpace."
That's a good one.
Because you're automatically his friend on MySpace. Get it?
Yeah.
I might not get that, but you had to be his friend. And then the other one was, this girl said to this dude, she goes, "You're so dark and your teeth are so yellow that when you smile, you look like a Pittsburgh Steelers helmet."
Jeez. That is, man, they need a I know that what's his face has the contract where they have to show ridiculousness 500 times.
Rob Dyrdek is a genius, however the hell he's getting his money. Good Lord.
Can I get some Yo Mama replays, please?
Yeah, where are we at? I Must Paneline says Zoom is used everywhere, even doctor visits, meetings, whatever. I don't know. I've had doctor visits. Don't feel like I've necessarily.
Yeah, but I didn't feel like Zoom was popular in 2019.
Yeah, no, hell no. Not Zoom. Zoom emerged 2020.
Yeah.
Hopping. Business was nice. Zoom colonoscopy. I had my oscopy the other day. I don't think I got a Zoom. Shout out to my doc. Shout out to Kevin Klein. Good doctor, that guy. Wag says, was draft day movie NFL realistic? Hell no.
No.
Hell no. I love the movie though. I almost started watching it. Do you watch Love on the Spectrum on Netflix?
I do not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not really your jam, but
what does that mean?
it's just kind of for sensitive folks who kind of like appreciate like that type of life. You're more of like a comic book movie type of guy. I get it. You're not, but yeah, I've started watching. I like it. It's a good show. It's heartwarming. It's good, man.
I know that one of the more notable guys got to meet Jack Black the other night.
Which one? Connor, Tanner? Either one of them?
I think it was Tanner. He's
dark hair or blonde hair?
I think dark hair.
Oh, that's Connor.
Well, it came across the timeline as like, it's like, hey, we're taking you for a surprise. And he was like excited. And the surprise was he'd always wanted to meet Jack Black. And then Jack Black was there because Jack Black's in what, Minecraft, the new movie. So just so happened
to Jack Black, bro.
So Jack Black, he was like really wanted to meet him, and then he got to meet him, and he was very excited.
So if you had a dinner and you could pick any 3 celebs to be in that den, who would the 3 celebs be?
Guy Fieri.
Okay.
Easy Guy Fieri, for sure.
I met him. I talked to him for like 20 minutes.
He was
20 minutes.
He was the most famous person at the owners' meetings. He was there at the owners' meetings, and owners were trying to find him. Media members were like gawking as he walked by. Like he commanded the room.
I was so terrified because we literally just sat off to the side and talked to him for 20 minutes because his wife was going to like the restroom. And when you go to Caesar's Palace, you have to walk a long way. And he's like my wife's favorite. And I thought he was going to be a jackass to her, but they started talking and he was really, really nice. We talked for like 20 minutes. He started asking, he said digital's the way to go. He was asking about the daughter and stuff like that. And then the show. And I was like, we're like legit fans of the show. Like this is like literally what's on. And I was like, I just think it's good because it's kind of made me a better cook because first of all, I think y'all kind of make it fun. But the other thing is the art of dressing up like instant stuff, I think is good. Like the rice that I've always used, like now I'll put like some onions in it and something like that. Like the art of like dressing up and being a crappy cook is good. And then just like he was asking about, he was cool as hell. It was like 20 minutes, but yeah. Just sitting there while at the table, he had security. He was cool as hell. And then he asked, I was proud of my wife because she didn't even ask for a picture. And he goes, hey, I don't usually take pictures with people, but y'all are cool. Give him your phone. He had like a guy with him and the guy took a couple pictures. And I was like, man, that you really like, I was nervous you were going to be a jackass, but that's good. Not because I thought that he would be, but just because sometimes when you meet like celebs, it's like that. But yeah, it was pretty cool. He was a really cool guy. So yeah. Guy Fieri and who else?
Guy Fieri, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And they have to be alive?
Yes. Obviously, you can't eat with dead people.
Well, I'm never having a dinner with Guy Fieri and Stone Cold anyway, so what the hell does it matter? They're alive or dead.
JFK. He's right there.
No, it'd be Chris Farley. And then the night, I mean, can you imagine Farley and Stone Cold shotgun and beers? It'd be great.
Okay.
It'd be great.
Okay. Well, Danny McBride would be mine. Danny McBride, Lil Wayne, and
one of the Real Housewives?
Nah, like Danny McBride, Lil Wayne, and I don't know. Like the third we could figure out. Danny McBride's the man, dude. He ain't got no social media, any of that. But I digress. Whatever. Rest in peace, JFK.
So some people didn't want him to rest in peace, and well.
Okay. Now who's the conspiracy guy? All right. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Subscribe, like, right along. Always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.
It's a great story, Cody.
Shut up, Landry.